Hey everybody, welcome to the Hangout with Jamie show. I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to start off by reading part of back of the book that I just finished reading called Coming Out to Ourselves, Admitting, Accepting, Embracing Who We Truly Are. We are getting deep on the Hangout with Jamie show today. Okay, gay or straight, male or female, religious or agnostic, many of us carry guilt, shame, and fear that someone will find out our deepest and darkest secrets. Our secrets, especially from ourselves, can often make us physically ill, in lack, and struggle, going from one hurtful and unloving relationship to another, and separated from our heart center. Regardless of what it is that's causing us to feel guilty, ashamed, or afraid, if it's keeping us out of peace, there has never been a better time than right now to look at it, forgive it, and release it. Whew. And it says here, this can be the most important journey you will ever take. And I agree with that. So, hi everybody, my name's Jamie Smith. I'm a certified LGBT life coach and a certified law of attraction facilitator. And the purpose of the Hangout with Jamie show is to uplift, empower, and inspire the LGBTQ community and our allies to help you go out and create rich, full, and delicious lives. Say yes if you love that. I know I do. So, and today I'm so excited because we have the author of the book Coming Out to Ourselves with us today, Reverend Jerry Troyer. But before I bring him on, I just want to read his bio, but I have a tip from my mom. Some of you met my mom. Today is episode 7, by the way, of the Hangout with Jamie show, episode 7 of my Spotlight series, where I shine the spotlight on one individual who's making a difference in the LGBTQ community and the world. And today my guest is doing that. And on episode 2 of my Spotlight series, I interviewed my mom. Some of you saw that. The episode is called, "Oh My God, My Sons Are Homosexual." Yes, you heard that right. My sons. My mom had to embrace the fact that she has 2 gay sons. It's a really good episode, but for those of you who watched that, you know she sounds like Mrs. Doubtfire. And she said to me, "I love your show, dear, but when you read the bios, chin up, dear. You tend to look down." So I'm going to just read the bio looking up. Thanks, Mom. All right, so Jerry's a native of San Diego. Reverend Jerry Troyer knows intimately the terrain about which he writes in his new book, Coming Out to Ourselves. He has experienced the process of coming out to himself first as a gay man, and then worked through admitting, accepting, and embracing his truth. His life partner's journey through substance abuse gave Reverend Jerry the opportunity to recognize the horrible impact addiction of any kind can have on individuals and families, and ultimately required him to face, forgive, and heal his own regret and resentment. As a result, Reverend Jerry felt the call to invite, encourage, and even challenge all people, especially the LGBT community and the recovery community, to look at what they believe about themselves and others and change what no longer serves them. Reverend Jerry is a senior minister of Joyful Living Church in San Diego and regularly volunteers at the San Diego LGBT Community Center. Reverend Jerry and his life partner live in La Mesa, California, with their golden retriever, Roxy. Reverend Jerry, welcome to the Hangout with Jamie show.
Thank you. My great pleasure to be with you today.
Awesome. So I love the subtitle of your book, Coming Out to Ourselves. Well, first of all, I just want to say, go out and get the book, because you can see I loved it. I've got all these notes and sticky. I was just like, oh my God, I have to remember this. I have to remember this. It's a really, really great book, Jerry, because I like I just said to you before we started the broadcast, I felt like with each page, I felt like I was just having a healing conversation with a big brother. And I could feel my shame melting and my fears melting. And it's a really, really great, comforting book. So thank you for writing it.
Wow.
And so the subtitle is Admitting, Accepting, Embracing Who We Truly Are. So let's talk a little bit about the first part, admitting. People struggle with admitting things that they're hiding, correct?
Yes. And certainly for us in the LGBT community, even though, we go to the parades, we do the festivals, especially this time of year, we do all of that, and we might be out to family and friends, but are we really out to ourselves? So this admitting piece has to do with often our sexual orientation, but also if we were adopted, also if if we or a family member have had a challenge with substance abuse. Just all of these things that, denial is not just a river in Egypt. It's also very often, the place where we reside, and if we don't think about it or don't look at it, then it doesn't exist, and we know that that's not true. So we gotta look at it and be willing to think about it and admit it to ourselves, even if we have to somebody else.
Absolutely. I know, I mean, I've been there. I'm really grateful that when I was 18, my mom asked me, but still people are still holding these secrets inside, and it's got to eventually, it's such a, I'm really grateful that I had the opportunity of coming out. But do you suggest that like everybody who has a secret just come out and tell it, or the first step, like you said, you have to admit it to yourself, correct?
Correct. And a great example of that is, sometimes the secret is, I just can't do this anymore. The example that I give in the book of my experience with my life partner had this wonderful, amazing six-figure-a-year job that it was too much pressure and he just couldn't do it anymore. But yet he couldn't admit that to himself and couldn't admit that to me or other family members because he felt like he'd be a failure. So instead of, how often do we stay in situations that don't work for us, that hurt us, that drive us crazy, but we can't, for whatever reason, leave? So instead of leaving, we have to figure out some way to live with it, and very often the some way is substance abuse, whatever the substance is.
Right, exactly. I
remember. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Maybe it's chocolate, maybe it's crystal meth, maybe it's shopping, maybe it's random sex, just whatever it is that takes us away from that situation rather than allowing us to say, no, I just can't do that.
Absolutely. And I love in your book, you talk about addiction, about, constantly reaching outside of ourselves for love, or we think it's going to bring us something.
Right. And in the book, I quote that song. I think it was the Backstreet Boys, "You Love Me." I don't care who you are, what you did, where you came from, as long as you love me. And how often, and especially us in the LGBT community, how often do we look for love outside ourselves, and I'll be acceptable, I'll be okay, I'll be lovable as soon as I find somebody to love me. And the truth is, until we really love ourselves, and I know that sounds a little airy-fairy, but really, until we love ourselves and start to make those choices that are in our best interest, it's not going to make any difference.
Yeah, I so agree with that. And I find it so interesting, just going back to the admitting part, when there was I remember years ago on the Oprah Winfrey show, there was a woman who was she was admitted that she was a gambling addict. And before they brought the family on, she admitted it to the entire world on the Oprah Winfrey show.
Wow.
But she found that easier. It was still hard, but she was more afraid of admitting it to her family than she was admitting it on national television, which I thought was so fascinating. Why do you, I guess it's because she was afraid they're going to not love her, right? So what would you tell somebody who has a secret, they have maybe spent their whole family's life savings, or they have an addiction, or they're scared to come out? What would you suggest to them?
Recognize that in the first place, you've got to be true to yourself.
Yeah.
And admit it and tell the people that need to be told, starting with yourself. I am a, and fill in the blank, I have a, or I did this, or I made this mess, or whatever it is. So admit that to yourself, and then go to the people who, and family is difficult because so often we expect them to be the most judgmental, and we want their approval, and we want them to respect us and love us, and so often we can tell, we'll tell anybody else, but we won't tell our family for fear that we lose their love. my personal experience was amazing and beyond, because both my parents were way more accepting of me than I was of me.
Wow.
I was marching down the aisle to get married to my wife in 1979, and my mother kept saying, and I don't know that she knew that I was gay, but at least she had the idea that you don't have to do this. And she kept saying, you don't have to do this. But I thought to myself, yes, I do. So I did, and was married for 3 years. But so getting back to your question, I would say become comfortable with that truth in your own mind.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, this is who I am. Wow, I did this. And also look at the rule, quote, end of quote, rule that you think you've broken in your life, and see if that rule is really still true for you or not. Because sometimes we stay in a relationship more in the traditional straight community, but I think for us as well, we stay in a relationship because we've made the commitment, till death do us part. Not so much anymore, but a lot of people made that commitment. But does it still make sense for us? Do we stay in that relationship forever just because it's comfortable, or we're comfortable in our discomfort? Or can we really stand and say, this doesn't work for me anymore, this is abusive, I can't do this anymore? So do what's really in our best interest and allow people to have their feelings. If they approve of the choice, great. If they don't approve of what we told them, they may come to terms with it over time and be okay, or they may not, but it's so much better to live our authentic life than it is to be in the closet, whatever that closet is.
Absolutely. I totally agree. I was just listening to Robert Ohoto on his radio show, and he's an openly gay spiritual coach, and he was talking about, and you talk about in your book too, like coming out, whatever it is, there's stages, and they're stages very similar to Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's 5 stages of death and dying.
Absolutely. And funny you should mention that, because that's the next step, is the admitting. In the last step that Elizabeth Kubler-Ross talks about is the admitting. It's like when the feeling, to me, it's the feeling that finally drops down into the bottom of your heart. It's the,
yeah,
this is the truth.
The acceptance. And very often that acceptance has to come with forgiveness. And I talk about that in the book as well, that in this acceptance piece, we got to forgive ourselves for the mess we made. Because very often in that experience of denial, I'm going to cover it up by not looking at it. And like we were talking about before, I don't have to look at it if I keep myself really busy doing something that's probably not the best for me, or maybe making a big mess. But sometimes we need to forgive our parents or other family members for not reacting when we came out to them as we would have preferred. Sometimes we need to forgive God. And whatever the situation is, that forgiveness piece is so important, because otherwise we just keep carrying those old memories with us. Yeah, I love that. I mean, and I love that you really outline there's stages that you're going to go through. And I think some of the stages of the death and dying were like, you admit it, but then you go through anger, you go through resistance, you go through, right? And then finally you get to that place of acceptance. And I think forgiveness for me, when I read the chapter on forgiveness in your book, I felt like, just even reading that feels so good. You talk about a 7-day, there's different exercises you can do to forgive. I love the 7-day exercise that you talk about just writing down, right? 77 times or something?
Right. If you come from traditional Christianity or are familiar with the Bible, Jesus was asked, how often do you forgive? And he said 70 times 7. So what I like to do is 35, get a spiral notebook, write 35 times in the morning, 35 times in the evening, I forgive myself for, or I forgive my parents for, or I forgive my employer for, or my lover for, or whoever. But and so concentrate on one situation 35 times in the morning, 35 times in the evening for 7 days.
I love it. And what I like about it is like it's not like you're condoning bad behavior, but you're doing it for yourself. And something that I teach in my law of attraction seminars is that the universe really has one job description. All it's doing is matching our vibration. So if we're holding on into resentment or shame or fear, we're just going to keep attracting situations that mirror back to us how we're feeling internally.
Exactly. And that's so often why we go from one relationship to the next. That ended badly, the next one ended badly, the next one ended badly, and the relationship could be with an employer, could be with a lover, whatever the situation is, could be with a used car. We go from one relationship to the next one, and we don't forgive the first one or the second one or the third one, so we carry the residue of that less than positive experience with us to the next one and to the next one. And until we look at it, forgive it, accept it, and release it, we just keep attracting that same experience to us.
Absolutely. And I just remember something also just now that came to me from that Oprah show about people who are afraid to tell the truth. Because I know in my own life, I've been there too. I've had secrets and stuff that I've had to,
right.
And it's the scariest thing sometimes, but when you finally, I kept hearing my intuition just say, tell the truth, just tell the truth, and the truth, like it says in the Bible, the truth will set you free. And it's scary, but what I remember what Oprah was saying is that the people who love you will always love you. And the people who walk away probably didn't love you to begin with. And I thought that was because it takes courage to come out, whatever it is. I mean, and it's not just coming out of the closet. It's what I like about your book. It's about maybe coming out about the fact that you're not happy in your job, or maybe you deep down want to be an artist and leave your, or whatever it is, right?
Right.
And any of those untruths will cause more pain down the road.
They absolutely will. And that's a really good point. The people that love you will love you and support you because it's who you are, not that they love, not your sexual orientation, not your job, not your income, none of the rest of that. If they love who you are, and it should be unconditional. Mm-hmm. And so if we have people in our lives that are loving us conditionally, maybe we need to look at that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's also important to remember too, that when we come out, like you said, like very often we will, not, you were lucky, I was lucky too, but I know some people who were abandoned by their parents. And I think that's a big fear. So we also have to, when we come out, no matter what it is, there may be backlash. Like not everyone will support us necessarily. And I think that we have to be mindful of that and just wait until we feel strong enough to be able to set boundaries around, the people who do give us backlash. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. And sometimes, and if that is someone's situation, it could very well be that they'll come out to themselves before they come out to anybody else. But we've got to become comfortable with the truth of who we are. And even if you don't tell anybody, make sure that you're honoring yourself and treating yourself with dignity and respect. Every day we make choices based on what we believe about ourselves. Will I eat that? Will I drink that? Will I use that? Will I spend money on that? Or will I treat myself better and decide not to ... I have a sign on my refrigerator that says, I deserve to have everything I want. Now that doesn't mean the whole cake. It doesn't mean half the pizza. It means I deserve to have what I really want, which is a healthier body, which is a sacred, wonderful, loving, nurturing relationship, which is whatever it is, because the truth is we do. There's never been anything, and there never could be anything that would alter our deservedness, but we're the ones that are deciding what we get.
Oh, I love that, Jerry. I love that. I mean, that's what I love about you, and I love about the book. And it's just, that who you are is perfect, whole, and complete. You may have done stuff in the past, but so what? It's, admit it, and forgive yourself, accept it. And then the last stage is embrace yourself. And I love that you talk about, I'm going to see if I can find it here. There is a Debbie Ford question for the right questions. And I love that you offer suggestions on how we can embrace ourselves. It's so important, no matter what we've done, we still have to embrace ourselves. And there was, I think the question was, will this choice lead me to a powerful future, or will it keep me stuck in the past?
Yes.
I love that.
She was and I don't know if you read any of her writing, but she was an amazing lady and a dear friend, and I miss her a lot. In the embracing part, we get to look at the gifts and the bullies. I have bullies in my life, and they're just the most amazingly wonderful people, because this coming out process very often brings us the gift of being able to stand up and say, no, that's not true. When I took over my church 10 years ago, I had bullies in my church. And it was an amazing experience to go through that. But the Jerry Troyer today is very different from the one 10 years ago, because I had to stand up and say, no, that's not true for me. And yes, you can look at that as a terrible thing. Yes, you can look at that as a burden, or you can look at that as a gift, saying, and because I believe that everybody we come in contact with brings us that gift, and we decide if it's good or bad, so we can label it as, yes, this most amazingly wonderful gift that required me to stand in my truth. It required me to say, I love you, but I don't want you in my life anymore because you abuse me. That's totally a gift for us.
Yes. And it's something I teach in my seminars too, is like, I talk about contrast as anything that doesn't feel good in your life, but it's essential. Contrast is essential because it's showing us what we don't want.
Right.
Yeah, that's awesome. And even actually just last night, I had a friend or somebody I went to school with was posting stuff about homosexuality on Facebook, and I was getting I was getting so angry, and I thought, oh my gosh, like, this person is spewing hateful messages, and so be it. My job is just to mind my own vibration, and it wasn't feeling very good, and that person's entitled to their opinion, but my job is to stay in a pure vibration myself, because it didn't feel very good to constantly debate and
And of course, that's the challenge in 2015, and especially, of course, the states just passed marriage equality, which is absolutely amazing, and then we get all this backlash and these people saying what they're saying, and the blessing, which is also the curse in 2015 with social media, is we get to hear what everybody thinks about everybody. So if you know that it's a conservative Republican from Mississippi that's posting something or being quoted, we don't have to look at that. We know what they're going to say. We get to choose what we read and internalize versus what we don't. And the stuff that doesn't love us and support us is just background noise.
I agree. Yeah.
That's all it is. So that's a challenge. And when we are an opportunity, I like the word opportunity much more than challenge. When we see those things, just check in. Why is this bothering me so much?
Absolutely. So once we admit, accept, embrace who we truly are, what becomes available to us, do you think?
This most amazing thing called life. It's pretty phenomenal out there. And when we live from our truth, I don't have to hide. I don't have to worry. And I remember being in the closet and, oh my God, the fear that somebody might find out. living in denial and living in fear is no way to live.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
you read in the book about my experience. We were at the Dr. Phil show. The book was getting ready to go to the publisher, and the episode was with two young girls that had been adopted.
Mm-hmm.
And really quickly, if I may share that story,
Please, please.
they both had been on the parents, both sets of parents had contacted Dr. Phil because the girls had been posting very inappropriate photos on Facebook and Instagram and all the social media and so forth. They were like 14 and 15 years old, and obviously the parents were really concerned. So they called Dr. Phil. He had them on. We didn't see their faces, but he interviewed both of the sets of parents, and he interviewed both the girls, and both the girls said, "We're just looking for someone to love us." And so they were looking for a young man to love them and nurture them.
Mm-hmm.
And what came out in the conversation that he didn't pick up on, and I really wanted to raise my hand and say, "Yo, Phil, you missed this," but I, of course, did not, was both girls had been adopted.
Mm.
And so what if they had the belief, and I don't know this for sure, but what if they had the belief that their birth parents didn't love them, so they threw them away?
Mm-hmm.
But we never know what somebody else is feeling. We never know the story about what actually happened with somebody else. And it's always our story. So what if they changed their story to be their birth parents loved them so much, recognized they couldn't take care of them the way they deserved to be taken care of, so they gave them to families that could. So not only were they loved, they were chosen.
Mm.
It's
Wow.
always our story. We tell ourselves what happened. With all the wonderful emotions of guilt and shame and resentment and regret and all the rest of that. But because it's our story, we can change it.
Yes.
So we get to change our story to the fact that life loves us.
Mm-hmm.
That we were born this way, some nut job from wherever talking about whatever it is, it's just background noise. We know that it wasn't a membership drive that made us decide to be LGBT. We know the truth of us. And so we get to tell the story and treat ourselves better. And guess what? When we do that, as you well know, as we're treating ourselves better, we attract people and situations into our lives that reflect what we believe about ourselves. Because as we know, life is lived from the inside out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I so agree with you. Wow. Well, we unfortunately are coming up to the end of our time today, Jerry, but I just want to say thank you so much. I hope you guys just feel better even just watching this show. And I hope that if you're watching this, that you, whatever it is you are holding on to that's causing you any fear or shame or guilt, that you today, just admit it to yourself, at least to yourself, that you come out to yourself. And of course, if you want extra support, I have an amazing free Google Plus community called Happy, Healthy, and Gay. It's a Live Your Best LGBTQ Life. It's on G+. It's completely free and completely private, secret. Nobody can see that you're in there. It's a safe space. And just to be yourself, hang out. And also I share tips and tools where you can go out and create whatever it is you want to create in your life. And Jerry, if people want to get in touch with you and find out more about your work, how do they do that?
Absolutely. It's www.revjerry.com. You can go there to learn more about me or get a copy of the book. It's also available on Amazon as paperback or a Kindle, or barnesandnoble.com or bn.com as paperback or a Nook. So it's not very expensive. I just really wanted people to get their hands on it and ideally love themselves and change their lives. So I just invite everybody to go on and take a look.
Absolutely. Go and get this book, people, seriously. And it's so true what you said. I know that for sure, that the more I love myself, the better my life gets, just through the law of attraction.
Absolutely.
The law of attraction.
Right.
Oh, well, this is great. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you'll come back
Oh,
on
my
again.
pleasure. Thank you.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
Look forward to it. All right,
Okay,
Jamie,
guys.
take care.
And if you want to sign up for more episodes, my next episode is going to be on the 29th. It's a live show, July 29th, with LGBT activist Karen McCrocklin. We're going to be talking about how being gay is actually a gift. It's going to be a good show. So you can go to hangoutwithjamie.com and sign up to receive notification of future show topics. Until then, you are so loved. Love yourself, and we'll see you soon. Take care.